Hey guys, so obviously it's been quite a while and I just wanted to kind of do a little video here to check in, maybe explain a little bit about what's been going on, answer some of your questions, and some other fun stuff. So let's just get started. So first, I know somebody's going to ask me about this, so I may as well just talk about it right off the bat. This band-aid on my forehead here. I maintain that I got this in a drunken bar fight. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. My dermatologist may have kind of a different story. They may say something like, you should stay out of the sun more. And that's probably true. I'm probably going to wear a hat from now on when I fly. I recommend other people do that. I'm probably going to, well, not probably, I actually need surgery on this. So the next time you see me, this may even be a little bigger. Anyway, that's enough about that. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. But that's the story. Now, you probably know that I don't like to do a lot of talking head videos. I know there are people that do those on YouTube. But this time I thought I would give you guys an update because there are actually things happening. One of those things is that I have moved yet again. Some of you remember I did a video like this just about a year ago where I talked about moving to the Southwest for some flight training. That's still going on. It's supposed to be over by now, but it's not. I'll probably talk a little about that in a little bit. But I have moved to a bigger house. The apartment that we were in last, where I shot my last couple videos, it was just very small. It felt small. Square footage, it was supposed to be bigger than the house that I came from, but it sure didn't feel like it. And in terms of being able to film things, I didn't really have a room where I could set up anything. I didn't have a workshop area. I didn't have anywhere that I could use as like a studio. I used to do that stuff in the basement of my old house. So in this house, we have kind of a spare, like almost an extra living room. And my wife has agreed that that will be our entertainment room. So I'm putting all my games in there. I'm having all my systems set up. We're going to have an arcade machine. We're going to have someday a pinball machine. It's going to be great. But I can also use that hopefully as kind of a YouTube studio. So hopefully you'll start to see some more videos. I can't say it's going to be a lot because obviously I do still have my training going on, but some more videos coming through. This house is also a lot quieter than where we came from. It was really hard to shoot in our previous apartment because there was so much traffic right outside our windows. This house is so quiet that I'm sure you can hear the fans running on my PC here from the folding at home that's going on behind me. And by the way, I do recommend doing this. Right now, I haven't checked the projects that I'm currently working on, but they do have coronavirus treatment stuff that you can work on, and that's one way that you can help with what's going on right now, and you can do it from your home with no effort whatsoever. Anyway, so this house hopefully will lend itself a lot better to shooting YouTube videos as long as I have the time to do it. Now, one thing I do definitely have planned that's coming up is I've got an At Games Legends Ultimate Home Arcade Machine coming. I've wanted one of these for a long time. There are already quite a few videos about this out there, and I don't know what kind of new perspective I'm going to be able to bring, but I've been looking for one of these since they came out and just haven't been able to get one. They sell out as soon as they're in stock anywhere, and I finally was able to pre-order one, pre-order for something that already exists on Walmart's website. It's coming in a couple of days, and I'm going to try to film putting it together, using it, whatever. So look for that, and hopefully it'll be good, but I'm very excited. I've wanted some sort of arcade machine, whether it's an original arcade machine or a multicade. I wasn't sure kind of which way to go for a long time, but, this At Games machine, I know they've had kind of their reputation mishaps in the past, but this machine seems like it's getting a lot of good vibes around it. And it seems like they're kind of doing everything right. And I'm really looking forward to getting it, testing it out, filming a video for it. So watch for that. Now, I thought I would also just cover a bunch of questions that I keep getting in the comments. Some of you may have noticed that I didn't respond to comments at all for a long time, and that's because I was not physically here and I was very busy. And I'll talk about that a little kind of at the end of this. But I've kind of gone back into the comments. I've started answering some stuff, but there are a lot of questions that come up repeatedly. Like anywhere else, you're going to get a lot of frequently asked questions. So kind of think of this that way. I think I did this once before. Hopefully not with these same questions, but I don't think so. I think these are new, or at least new for me to answer in this way. So let's just get into it. Again, these are questions that have actually come up multiple times for different videos. Some of them go way back, but I still get comments on them. So these are still timely comments. So from my last turntable video, a lot of people ask me, what do you think of this particular turntable, and or can I recommend them a turntable with whatever specs? That video was kind of intended to be a teach a man to fish kind of thing. Yes, I can probably recommend different models with different types of operation and whatever, but I don't have experience with every single model out there. I don't want to say that the models that I know are necessarily the best choice all the time. What I wanted to do with that video was kind of teach you what to look for in a turntable for yourself. And it's actually very simple. And that was kind of my conclusion from that video, which is look at the frickin' spec sheet. It's not rocket science. Turntables are basically transports. What makes the sound is the cartridge. And yeah, I mean, there's certain things with dampening vibration and stuff like that. But you can generally figure all that out from just looking at the specs. Now, it's better if you can actually see actual test measurements, and I tried to do a few of those myself in that video. It used to be the norm that you'd be able to pick up Stereo Review or something like that, and you would find test measurements for all the latest turntables. That's kind of hard to find anymore. But the next best thing is just look at the spec sheets, and you can compare these from manufacturer to manufacturer. And if there's a spec that's not listed for a certain turntable, well, that should tell you something in itself. So go out, just look at the spec sheets, and then buy yourself a good cartridge. That's the harder part. I haven't done a big comparison of cartridges, but I linked to some in that turntable video. Just, it's not a perfect system. It's YouTube. You're not going to get uncompressed sound, but you're going to be able to hear the differences in the sound, even in a YouTube video, as long as you crank the quality up, listen with some headphones. That's it. Now, from multiple videos, I've had people ask, do I play my game collection or is it just for show? You may have seen, I'm sure you've seen in some of my past videos, especially in my old house, I've shot with a background of all my games on shelves behind me. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And I had more games other places, and you've probably seen those too. I have a decent game collection. It's not nearly as big as some people's on YouTube. I mean, there are channels that I personally watch that, and I probably shouldn't mention them by name right here, but maybe I'll put a list in the description or something. But some of these guys on YouTube have enormous game collections that seem to take up their entire house. My games fit on a couple of shelving units, pretty much. So it's not even that big of a game collection. But yes, of course, I do play them, and most of them, 90% of them, I would say, were purchased as they were being released. They're not games that I have generally picked up later, although in a few cases they are. But they're games that I've bought to play at the time that they came out, including the old ones. So yes, of course I play my games. They're not just for show. I do have some experience as a gamer. Now, from my Intellivision video going way back, I think this might be like the first video I ever did, but I still get comments on it. I guess people going through my kind of back catalog and watching all my videos, which is great. Please keep doing that. But some of those old videos are a little embarrassing, I will say, the way I shot them. Anyway, I still get comments on that, and I get this question occasionally now, which is, what do you think of the Amico, the new Intellivision Amico that's going to come out? Well, I don't really know what to think about it, but I am getting one. I do have a deposit put in, and hopefully this wasn't me being incredibly stupid, but I have put a deposit down on a Founders Edition. So once the Amico comes out, you can expect a video on that. I'm definitely interested. And, you know, the Intellivision was my first game machine. It still holds kind of a special place in my heart. And I'm really looking forward to having an Amico and kind of reviewing it, going through everything it can do. I've seen some of the games that they are planning to release, and they look really cool. They're kind of modern updates to some of the original Intellivision games, at least the ones that I've seen. And I don't know if they're going to be as much fun, or maybe they'll be more fun, but they definitely look faithful, but in a modern way, and I think that's really cool. So I'm looking forward to it. Now, from mostly the SACD video, but also the turntable video, why am I testing on such crappy speakers? Well, a couple things with that. A couple things about the speakers that I have. First of all, this is not an audiophile channel. I never pretended it was. I don't want it to be. I don't think audiophile stuff is even always the best. I think it's usually pretty good. I think it's always overpriced. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. And that's where I was at when I was a salesman for this stuff too. It's all about finding value. It's not about just buying the most expensive stuff that you can show off. You know, when I was a salesman, we got to hear everything that we had in the showroom, obviously, and we would demo it constantly. So we got to know what sounded best and what was the best value for the money. The Pinnacle PN5 speakers that I'm using in some of my videos, and you've probably seen those are legendary in terms of how good they sound for the money. If you don't know about those Pinnacle PN5 speakers, then you don't know about audio, because those are well-respected speakers. They just don't happen to cost a lot. Now, as far as the speakers that I have, the 5.1 system that I have, those, you know, they're fine. They're not the best for music, which is why I have my Pinnacle PN5s. But I have a large subwoofer as well, and that helps out the PN5s too. But, you know, I'm kind of doing a channel for everyman here, and I'm an everyman as well. And those are speakers that are similar to speakers that a lot of people are going to have. So when I'm comparing things that are going to sound kind of this way for you too. And that's what I want to do. I'm not telling you, oh, you need to go out and buy this $10,000 set of speakers in order to experience this the right way. That's bullshit. That's not what I'm trying to do and not what I want to do. And I honestly don't respect people that say things like that. So, you know, that's why I'm testing with the kind of speakers that I am in my audio videos. Now, from the PC upgrade video that I did a long time ago, and yeah, this was a long time ago, but I'm actually getting this comment more now because the question is, have you upgraded this PC since that video? I guess a lot of people, you know, watch that video even now, and I guess they like it, and they want to see more of that kind of thing from me, and they just wonder if, you know, I haven't done it because this PC is still stuck in the past. But no, I have upgraded this PC. It's the same PC that's running Folding at Home here. I've upgraded it many times. I think at that time I was putting in a Ryzen 5 1500X, 1600X, I guess, and it had a GeForce GTX 970. It probably had 8 gigs of RAM, a spinning hard drive as its main hard drive. I don't remember. I may have had some kind of SSD already at that time. But at this point, it's a Ryzen 7 3700X. I've got an RTX 2060 in it, not a Super. That wasn't out at the time when I upgraded. I've got 16 gigs of RAM. I don't need more than that. Most people don't. And I've got an M2 PCIe SSD, as well as another SSD and a hybrid drive. I think it's a 3 terabyte hybrid drive. So I've got 4 terabytes total storage in that. It's pretty fast. I like it a lot. And the reason that I haven't done more upgrade videos and that I don't do more upgrade videos is that there are just so many channels out there like that. And I don't have the resources or the, I don't know, I guess I just don't kind of have the same, I don't have the confidence in myself to do those kinds of videos better than other channels do. A lot of these channels are kind of getting stuff sent to them for free, or they seem to just have a lot of money and just buy like all the best stuff. I'm not that guy, I guess. So, you know, if there's something special that I want to do a video on about upgrading a PC, I'll do another one. I'm not saying it's never going to happen. But just like any random upgrade, I'm probably not going to shoot a video on it, and that's why. Now back to audio again. This is one that it came up a lot for a short period of time, and it hasn't come up much since then. Maybe I've kind of shut these people up, I don't know. But how do you pronounce techniques? And usually they don't actually ask it in a form of a question. They try to correct me, and they're wrong. And if you're going to try to correct somebody's pronunciation, don't be wrong. It's pronounced techniques. It's not pronounced techniques. It's a play on the word technique. It's always been pronounced techniques. Techniques themselves pronounces it techniques. Here's a bunch of examples of them doing that.
Listen to Techniques, the science of sound. A quality of...
Techniques, cassette tape.
Techniques brings you one of the most significant advances in sound. Digital audio from Techniques, the science of sound.
So anyway, case closed on that. I mean, I don't need to say more. Now, from multiple videos, I often get people asking me, I have one of those. Is it worth anything? And the answer is, well, I don't know. I mean, it depends on a lot of things. Here's what I do. Whenever I have something and I have that question, which I'm not saying it's an invalid question, it is a valid question, and they look to me because they think, you know, I might know, but there's so many variables, and what you have to do is look at whatever you have, whatever it is, try to judge it objectively, like in terms of condition, completeness. Those two things matter a lot. Then just go to eBay and don't look at the active listings. Go down, click on where it says show sold items, not just completed items, but sold items. And look at the list, look at the things that have sold and for what price they've sold for. This is what I do when I'm trying to figure out how to price something for a listing that I'm going to put on eBay. That's going to tell you kind of what people are paying for that same thing, but you have to make sure that you're looking at items that are in the same condition and with the same level of completeness as what you have. That includes the box packaging, any accessories it might have come with, any literature. All that stuff matters, as does, you know, any discoloration, scratches, you know, anything that's broken off, obviously whether it works perfectly. All that stuff matters to value. So don't look at, like, you know, I have this loose Atari 2600 that, you know, has a fuzzy output signal, and I don't have the joysticks, and it's, you know, cracked on the casing, and I'm going to go to eBay and, oh, here's one that's brand new in the box, never even been opened, and it's, you know, $1,000. Mine's worth $1,000. Well, no, it's not. You have to make sure that you look at, you know, ones that are comparable to yours. But that's how you determine value. I'm not going to be able to tell you value in a comment. Now, moving on to some flight sim stuff. A lot of people have asked me, what do I think of the new Microsoft Flight Simulator that's going to be coming out later this year? And I mentioned that, obviously, in my last flight sim vid, but I'm not one of the people that Microsoft flew out for their little PR junket thing that they did a while ago, where they obviously took a bunch of YouTubers, they flew them out to Seattle, they put on a big show, and then all of those guys made videos about the new Microsoft Flight Simulator at the same time. I'm not one of the guys that got to do that. I'm not saying I should have been. But, you know, all of those videos took a not very critical look at the game, which I can understand to a large extent. It's a preview. They did get hands-on playing time with it, but, you know, they were flown out there. It was kind of an all-expense-paid thing. I'm sure they had to buy their own food and whatnot, but it's hard. I know, as a former video game reviewer myself, it's hard in those situations to not feel somewhat grateful for what the company in question has done for you. And that is going to color your coverage of that game. So I've seen all the footage. I've, watched a lot of those videos. I'm still pretty skeptical myself about the game. I would love to have some hands-on time with it. I'm probably going to have to wait till it comes out and buy it like everybody else, which is fine. But there are certain things that it's really hard for a sim to do. And, it's not that these are bad sims. I talked a lot about these things in my flight sim video, the last one I did just about a year ago, I guess. But I'm not convinced that the new flight simulator is going to do those things any better than a sim like X-Plane. I do think it looks like it has amazing graphics, the new Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I understand how it's doing that is that it's constantly streaming in graphics. It's not, stored locally, so it can display things with a lot more detail than, the software could store on your hard drive or whatever. So that's cool. And I have no doubt it's going to look great, and probably the flight models are going to be pretty good. But there are other things like the flying environment, the things that make flying truly realistic, air traffic control, things like that, that I doubt it's going to do much better, if any, than existing sims. But we'll see. Now, here's a fun one. Could you, in an airplane, the movie type situation, fly and land an airliner with only PC sim experience? I guess this is kind of the dream of every PC simmer, is someday you're going to be in an airplane, the pilots are incapacitated, the flight attendants come running through the cabin and say, "Can anybody here fly a plane?" You stand up and say, "I can, I've been flying PC simulators for 20 years. Could you actually fly and land the plane in that situation? Well, maybe. It would depend on a lot of things. I'm not saying you definitely couldn't do it. In fact, there was a Mythbusters episode in one of the later seasons where they tried this. They had no experience even with PC sims. They just went into an A320 full flight simulator, which they have to be, in order to be certified, they're exactly like the real thing. And they tried it, and the first time, with no help, they both crashed. The second time, with help from the ground, they landed. It wasn't pretty, and they didn't do a very good job, but they landed, and they didn't red screen the sim, which means, everybody would have walked off that plane, most likely. So, yes, with help from the ground, you can probably do it. Things work very differently in a sim. Things feel very differently in a sim. I'm talking about a PC sim. Even from the full flight sim to the real thing, there are differences. But from a PC sim to the real thing, it's like night and day. If you have kind of trained yourself and done it seriously on the same model of airplane in the PC sim as you're then tasked to fly in real life, then, I could see that with ATC guiding you down, you know where all the switches are and kind of what things do in the cockpit, you could probably do it. Probably. I wouldn't want to be on that plane. But now there's one other thing, which is, Airplane is kind of a strange movie in that, yes, it's a comedy, but it actually got certain things accurate. When Ted Stryker walks into the cockpit and says,
I flew single-engine fighters in the Air Force, but this plane has 4 engines. It's an entirely different kind of flying, altogether.
It's an entirely different kind of flying.
He's right. Multi-engine flying versus single-engine flying has a lot of different considerations, and there's different kind of safety margins that you have to be aware of, especially if you lose an engine, which he immediately does in the movie. That's something that if you're a single-engine pilot, or a single-engine simmer, you're going to have no idea how to deal with. And if you've been flying airliners in a sim and doing the various failure modes and that kind of stuff, yeah, you'll have kind of an advantage that you can use. But if you've only ever flown like Cessnas in the sim, or in real life for that matter, but especially in a PC sim, you're going to have no idea. You're not going to land that plane. So, you know, could you do it? Like, the chances go up or down depending on what sort of PC experience you actually have. I still wouldn't want to be on that plane. I mean, it's better than nothing. But, you know, the bottom line is it's never going to happen anyway, because there's going to be somebody on that plane, probably one of the flight attendants, that's going to have more real experience than you as a PC simmer. There are private pilots, there are commercial pilots all over the place. And, you know, especially the flight attendants, because that may be why they got into that job. So I know lots of flight attendants that have both either private or even are working on their commercial license. So they would have a better shot than you, and they're going to be the ones in the cockpit if that were ever to happen, which I can't even think of a case in which both pilots were incapacitated recently, or ever really. But anyway. And lastly, also from that same vid, where am I in my training right now? Time moves on, time marches forward, obviously. And that video I made probably 6 months ago now. So I should be further along in my training, and I am. But I'm kind of stuck in one spot right now between commercial single engine and commercial multi-engine. Now, I have had multi-engine training, which is a little odd because all my multi-engine training is on jets. I have actually been trained on an airliner. I've gone back, I spent a month doing what amounts to a type rating course without actually getting the type rating at the end. I did a whole bunch of training, the same training that airline pilots get on the line. And unfortunately, none of it counts for anything. But it was fun. And I was able to use all of the training that I'd had up to that point and learn some new things, because that was actually my introduction to multi-engine. So the long and the short of it is, at this point, I know 95% of what I need to know to get all my certifications. I just don't have the actual piston engine multi-engine training, but I could fly you gate to gate in an airliner, including dealing with multiple failures, such as engine failure on takeoff. No problem. But put me in a Piper Seminole, I am not going to know my ass from my face. So that's the odd situation. In some ways, I'm beyond where most commercial pilots ever get. Commercial pilot just meaning you have a CPL license doesn't mean you're an airline pilot. Commercial pilots can do a lot of different things to make money. I have training that most commercial pilots never get, but I don't have training that every commercial pilot gets. So I just need that kind of last month of training, and then I'll have my certifications and I'll be on to CFI stuff, and then building towards the 1,500 hours in order to get my ATP. Well, that's about all I got. So hopefully that was better than nothing, and hopefully I'll have that Legends Ultimate Arcade Machine video up very soon. So watch for that. And until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.